Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco. And Kyle.
Yes, sir.
You've seen, there's some great movies from the 80s. Tootsie, Out of Africa, the 90s, The Firm. Do you know what these movies all have in common?
I don't.
Okay, so they were all directed by Sidney Pollack, who was an American film director.
Great Sidney Pollack.
The late, great Sidney Pollack. He passed away, sadly, in 2008. However, even though he passed away in 2008, his last film did not get released until 10 years later in 2018. This movie is a concert film titled Amazing Grace, which features Aretha Franklin recording her 1972 live album of the same name. He was the director of this. It was filmed in 1972. Its release was delayed for 46 years due to a younger director, Sidney Pollack, forgetting to use clapperboards during production. And they found it impossible to edit the film for 46 years until non-linear editing became obviously the rage. We've talked about this in a previous minute. Final Cut Pro was one of those where you could now splice it all together. No joke. This film got delayed for that long because they didn't use clapperboards. They had all this footage and they didn't know what went with what. So they couldn't do anything about it. What am I talking about? The clapperboard. It's a device used in filmmaking and video production. It helps to synchronize the picture and sound and to designate the mark of various scenes and takes as they are filmed. It is operated by a clapper loader, which is the official term for the person who gets it ready. It goes all the way back to the silent era. It was used, the slate part of it, which is the part that information is written. That's called the slate. That was used during the advent of silent film to, again, mark footage so they knew what they were working with after they had filmed it. And then there was a thing called a clapper that was used to give that audible cue so that your audio and video could be synced. That was invented by a person by the name of F.W. Thring in Melbourne, Australia. And then at some point, it is believed in the early part of the 20th century, the clapboard as we know it today, where the sticks and the slate were merged together. That was done by a pioneer sound engineer of the name Leon M. Leon. And that's how we got the clapperboard. It plays a curious role in the minute that we are about to discuss.
That's true. And if you are interested in hearing some Aretha Franklin music that in a way you've never heard it before, I would recommend something that I stumbled across a couple of years back. She put, obviously, this is not new. So what they did is they took the original studio recordings of one of her albums, and the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra played along with it. So it's an album called A Brand New Me. So it's original Aretha Franklin vocals and a full orchestral sound behind her. It's amazing. Like, you've never heard songs like this before when you're used to hearing Think the same way, and then you have violins starting it out. Like it's really, really good. So even if you don't purchase it, you check it out on Spotify or wherever. That's where I discovered it. The Royal Philharmonic has done a bunch of these kind of albums, but like the one with Aretha Franklin is par excellence. So definitely check it out.
I would say just as good, the one they did with the Beach Boys.
Oh, I have not heard that.
One's amazing.
I say it's a little far from Christmas now, but they also did one with Elvis Christmas music as well. So I mean, like they're definitely worth checking out. So they bring new life to old things in the same way that we're doing right here in the 10-year-old film, because we're hitting minute 74 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, directed just Mr. Jon Favreau. Tony Stark is digging into Howard's hope chest. Yeah.
Pretty much.
So I don't know exactly why all of this stuff was given to S.H.I.E.L.D., because a lot of it seems like just random garbage. But I guess this is what he wanted done with it. So
or it was taken.
I guess it's
after
possible.
His death, and maybe
it seems like a lot of random mementos. Like
but who knows? Yeah.
So we see Tony is then going through this, trying to figure out what's important in this that's going to help him with his current problem. Because by the way, hey guys, remember the fact that Tony Stark is dying?
That's still
Seems
happening.
like it's been forever since we talked about that, but
Right.
it's been a long time since we actually even seen Iron Man in the Iron Man movie. But regardless,
Now he's in the robe that we talked about when he had his conversation with Nick Fury. He's now moved the suit. This crate, lack of a better term, is now in his workshop, in his normal workshop.
I was trying to figure out by the background where exactly he is in the workshop.
Oh,
could you figure it out?
Yeah, he's because you can actually see he's basically at the sort of table and chairs that is in the corner of the workshop where the kitchenette is on one side. We talked about that where he had a whole bunch of stuff. The armadillo's on the top.
Yeah, that's where he hung the poster of Iron Man.
Exactly, the Hope inspired.
The Shepherd Fairy
poster
came down and he
right. And then he's sitting right in front of where the jukebox is, and some other things that are alongside that part where you walk by.
So to Tony's left would be his desk where Jarvis, where the interface is, and then the cars.
Correct.
Okay, so he's looking so against that wall. So if he had taken the projector he's going to use in here and slightly to the left, it would have been on one of the Iron Man armors. Is that right?
Yes, I think so, because it looks like what he did is he put the screen up that's literally right in front of the kitchenette, the refrigerator.
Okay, so next to the kitchenette, between the kitchenette and the Hall of Armors.
That is my understanding. Yes.
Okay. I was trying to look at the background to try and figure out geographically where he is.
Where he is in the workshop, right.
So as he's digging through the trunk, there's a ton of stuff that's in here. So he's going through. First thing he pulls out is the blueprints. Now, we've seen this before. Another copy of these were in the hands of Anton Vanko over in Russia. And so now these are Howard's versions of those. So as we can see a little closer, he sees both Howard Stark and Anton Vanko's names on it. But a couple other names show up on there. William J. Law, Sharon Davis, and Wald Hetfield. Those are all people who worked in the art or construction departments on Iron Man 2.
Nice.
So nice little Easter egg to those people. So as he sets that aside, we can see he's now spreading stuff around the floor, to look through. We see another product placement, cha-ching, for Kodak. So as he looks through the film, there's a couple different things of film, and one of them that has the nice big Kodak logo on top of it. As he lifts out the paper, so we see it's the Dallas Record we've seen before about the defection and that stuff. Right to the side, you can see that turns out that maybe Howard Stark was a little nostalgic because he has a copy of Captain America #1, first published in March of 1941. So obviously we know that comic books are a part of the MCU, that they actually, because we see later on in Captain America: The First Avenger him with the comic books. We see there actually are comic books of him, and that is a Marvel tradition, because in the Marvel comic universe there is a Marvel Comics that puts out comics of the adventures of the heroes of the universe. So various characters, Iron Man, Thor, have all gone to visit Marvel Comics inside of a Marvel comic. So Aurora Boreas, the snake eats its own tail. It's turtles all the way down. Yeah. So this is very much in keeping with Marvel brand. So we stuff laid out. On the side, we see there's actually a map of Antarctica.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's a reference to. Why would Howard Stark be in Antarctica? Because it was my understanding that Captain America's plane went down in the north, not the south. Because he took off from Germany and went across the top to get to New York. So he would have crashed in the Greenland area.
Right.
Okay. So I like the Antarctica thing. I was they've never done anything with Antarctica as far as I know.
I always, either this is just there is a map, but maybe there is something there that there is a project yet to be discussed.
I guess so. Maybe there's a hidden Stark Industries thing from the 1940s or 50s.
Right.
Okay. So there you go. There you go, future screenwriters. You've got some stuff to work with.
There's something to play with there.
So then we see that Howard is actually Tony's actually watching Howard on the screen. So he has put some of the film in and he's watching some stuff. We saw the edited version of this at the very beginning of the movie, but now we're seeing longer versions of it and outtakes and that sort of stuff. And so one of the things is clap on, clap off. It's the clapper. So the clapper, as Rob talked about at the beginning, is used to synchronize vision and sound. So when it goes down, then they know that's where they can set the sound because they have a clap mark. We actually still do it when we're editing now, because we just basically, if you do a clap, it shows up in the soundbar when you see the sound go when we're editing the podcast. A big thing, a big spike, you'll know, oh, something happened there. Usually when we make a mistake or we're going to have to start something or to synchronize, we'll say 1, 2, 3, clap.
Right.
Or if you mess something up, you hit a clap so that when the editor knows, they can look at it real quick and go, oh, there's something right there because it's something beyond, above and beyond. So if I really want to screw up Rob's editing, I can be like, ah, whoa, because you'll see the spike and he'll go and look at it. It turns out it'll be nothing. So, haha, future Rob, take
Great.
that.
Thanks.
So on the clapper itself, there are two names. One is significant, and the other one does not seem to be. So the two names are Barney Balkoff and Johnny Libatique. Now, I don't know what the significance of Barney Balkoff is. I could not find any reference to it. There was a real Barney Balkoff. He was born in Russia, moved to New York, and died in, I think it was like the 40s. But I don't know what connection that would have to anything in there. So I don't know if that's just a weird Easter egg by somebody who was on set that day or the prop designer or something, because it was handwritten, so it was intentional choice. The other name, Johnny Libatique, is a reference to, of course, the cinematographer of Iron Man, which is Matthew Libatique. So I would not be surprised if this was someone that either like a relative of his, like a father or a grandfather and stuff. So as we see, Tony is sitting there looking through a notebook of his father's, and there's a bunch of scientific stuff in Matthew. I couldn't really find anything significant in there. I couldn't understand most of what was going on in there.
Yeah, it was really, if you really try to read it, I mean, it reads like scientific jargon.
Mm-hmm.
With some basic words thrown in. Like, I mean, really, there was nothing that I don't think is hidden, but, and
no, if there's a scientist or mathematician who like sees that either like this is something, either like, yeah, this makes sense, or no, this is complete gibberish, I would like to know. So, you know, there's plenty of ways to contact us, so reach out. In the process, there's also another slight Iron Man 2 mystery, and it's a mystery to us because we're trying to figure out what device is Tony Stark using in this scene. Right. Because it's obviously not the Stark phone, because we've seen the Stark phone looks like. He's got a clear glass phone that can take over military servers and do all this other stuff, and even can contact the Illuminati. But here he's using some sort of handheld pocket PC with a stylus. So we talked about this, and I went even on the forums and even on Reddit, people were talking about trying to figure out what this thing is, and they think it was a Compaq iPAQ, which was a pocket PC tablet, personal device at the time. But you thought that it was actually a Palm Pilot.
Well, okay, so in looking at it again, at first glance, I thought it was a Palm Pilot because it had the general shape. They had the stylus looked very similar. The whole way the screen, you can almost see on the screen, it has on Palm Pilots, they were famous for a portion of the lower part of the screen was actually not a screen. It was a taptic area for graffiti, it was called. And it was the way in which you would write on a Palm Pilot. And I'm talking about these are like the Palm Pilot Pros, I forget. They were like they upgraded them to like a metal case, very sleek. By the way, for those of you who lived through the 90s, you probably know what we're talking about. For those of you who did not, this was the day before smartphones and the time of Newtons and all this other stuff. These were the beginnings of the personal digital assistants that look no more different than probably your solar-powered calculator today. I mean, literally, they're just another step away from that. Now, with that said, the Palm Pilots, their cases, I believe most of them connected on the left side. So you had an option. There was like an accessory area where like the stylus would be on one side and then this removable flap could be on the other side. There's the other issue is they had basically 5 buttons on the bottom. Okay, I can't believe we're getting this much into the weeds on this, but we have to. So they had 5 buttons, 2 buttons on each side, and then like a bigger like paddle button, almost like something off a game controller in the middle. What he's using here is not any of that. It definitely looks more like the Compaq iPAQ, which was this basically Compaq, who's Compaq.
They have since been subsumed into Hewlett Packard.
Hewlett Packard now owns them. But basically, Compaq tried to take that and tyke it up a few notches where it had a color screen. It was kind of the same form factor. It ran a version of Windows, which I don't even remember what version of Windows they ran, but they were crazy. iPAQ, they were basically trying to steal a little bit of the thunder of the iMac at the time, which had been revealed.
And the iPod, I believe even the iPod Touch, I think, was out by this point.
Oh, no, this is still the 90s. No, this is just the
Oh, so
iMac.
you're doing the 90s. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
this is the iMac.
filming of the movie, but okay. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right. No, so I mean, this was when Apple had caused a total distortion in the universe of technology, and everybody was trying to follow up. So late 90s, early 2000s. So the Compaq looks more like this because it has a similar stylus. It has what looks to be a much bigger middle button. But I got to tell you this. There's real weird inconsistencies when you zoom in that makes you think this is some sort of a hybrid product between the two, which I can't imagine they would take the time to make.
Right.
Because there's no reason to do that.
No, because if it was a Stark thing, it would be much more high tech than having him with this gray metal plastic thing with an actual stylus thing. He has Jarvis. There is no reason he needs to have any type of stylus interface at all. He could just dictate what he's saying to Jarvis, and Jarvis can do whatever he needs to with it.
Now that's something we should definitely discuss. Like, why would you do this when you have all this other stuff?
Still, the question remains, even from back then, where is Jarvis?
Well, okay. Here's my theory on this. Because he is trying, as a good engineer who's also an artist, okay, he's trying to put himself, sort of basically downgrade himself in terms of his perspective as he's looking at all this information. And as a result of that, I think he's purposely went through his junk drawer, found this old device, and he's trying to use this device to work on these algorithms or these formulas or anything else to kind of put him in that older mindset. Sometimes artists do that. They use older materials, older tools. People will tend to do that.
Some people write novels in crayon.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Callback. No, I mean, I think that's what he's doing here. I think the reason why he's using this particular device is just he's trying to put himself in the frame of mind to best figure out what the riddle is. The riddle of his heart. I had to stick that in somewhere. Good Lord. The mystery continues.
So if you had this device, or if you recognize the device, let us know, because even the internet doesn't seem to know exactly what this is. So I'm putting on the list of questions I'm going to ask Jon Favreau when he comes on the show.
Oh, jeez. Number one.
Never gonna happen. Yeah, number one. Mr. Favreau, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I really only have one question for you.
What? What's Tony using in the scene where he's going through his father's stuff? Yeah. And there'll be silence, and then click.
He's like, I don't know. That was okay. Well, can you explain the riddle of his heart?
Yeah.
Hello. It's like we're losing your connection. I don't know what's happening.
We're done.
Okay, so speaking of bad connections, we're going to listen to some words of wisdom from Howard Stark. Never the most communicative of people, at least to his son. But here he is. We're going to see a voice from the past. So as Tony is watching this, is looking through all the notes, trying to, gestalt this whole thing, smoosh it all together and come up with something. We hear Howard saying, "Everything is achievable through technology. Better living, robust health, and for the first time in human history, the possibility of world peace." Now that's very interesting, because all those things are stuff that Tony has been sort of talking about. Right. He has privatized world peace, remember that thing? But also the first thing he says is better living and robust health, which are two things Tony currently does not have.
Exactly.
So he says, "I'm Howard Stark. Everything you'll need for the future can be found right here." Clank. Did you hear that? That was a major plot point being dropped right in the middle of the floor. Everything you need for the future can be found right here, as he gestures to the map.
On the car. Oh, right. I thought you were talking about the carpet.
No, not the carpet. The big map that's behind him. City of the future, city of tomorrow, city of. And he what were we calling this? I don't remember. And so then you see him go back to one. I'm Howard Stark, and everything. So as you see multiple sort of takes of this. So as he's going back and forth watching this and then looking through the notes, you see Tony flip to a later page, and as flipped up, we see sort of a cube within a cube. Unless I'm mistaken, Rob, I believe that's the Tesseract.
Oh, I think you're. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because that was he was studying that, back in the times. it seems like that when he had the limited time that he actually had access to it, he was making notes about it.
Well, one thing we didn't mention is on the clapperboard, the date is September 15th, 1973.
Right.
We know that a lot of things happened in 1973 because we saw that in a later movie.
Yeah, true.
Oh, yes. I think what threw me was just the pen and ink drawing, and I was like, "Oh, it's a cube and a cube."
Yeah,
but wait a minute,
lines with the
awesome.
Yeah, which as it would eventually become known as the Space Stone, that will end up eventually will end up in multiple gauntlets. But we'll get to all of that as time goes by. So as Howard Stark is starting his thing again. I'm Howard Stark. Everything that is where it comes to an end. So we'll and when we pick up in 75, we'll continue on with the rest of the outtakes and things as Tony's trying to figure out what it is. What is the riddle of his heart, and how can he solve it?
It's really contained in the riddle of his dad.
That's true.
How did we not say that before? That's the title of this minute. The riddle of his dad. Nah.
Oh, I thought it was the hope chest of Howard Stark.
Oh, that Howard's hope chest.
Howard's hope chest. I like that.
I'll tell you what, Kyle. When you think about, we taltalked about obviously the history of clapperboards and how important they are to organization, to production. Very important. But what it's really about is aligning the two different things. And nothing probably aligns what we're about and what people are looking for than Instagram. As I was putting that together, I said to myself, that isn't even, what does Instagram have to do with a lot? You know what? Yeah, it does. Because here's the deal. You don't want to get into a big discussion with people. If you want to do that, you go to Facebook.
Sure.
If you want to get into real deeper stuff, that's what Discord is for. Hey, here's what Instagram's for. Instagram is just about aligning your need to connect with something very simple and visual with things that you like. And you can do that if you follow us on Instagram. It's Instagram. It's images. It's Twitter with it's Twitter imaging.
Just go to Instagram and search for @thenextreel and you'll find us there. Follow and enjoy. Make sure you're back here at 75 as we see some wacky Howard Stark outtakes. You're not going to want to miss it. Enough said.
Bye.